And welcome everybody to another episode of Glove Up or Shut Up right here on AngryMarks.com. My name is Peter H. I'm joined once again by my co-host from Omaha, Nebraska, Stevie J.
Let's get right to the number one issue. How did you score the first round at Bisping versus Henderson?
Jeez.
It's a simple question. It's either a 10-9 or a 10-8.
10-9.
Well, then Michael Bisping won the fight.
I had Bisping winning 3 rounds to 2.
Yeah, a lot of people had it a draw. They gave the 10-8 to Dan Henderson.
It wasn't a 10-8 round.
You don't think he put enough of a hurting on him to get a 10-8?
He knocked him down, but he didn't finish the fight. He didn't do enough to warrant a 10-8.
Did you get deja vu of UFC 100 when you saw that?
No, I had, oh crap, did I spill my drink on the floor when I did that?
Well, either way, for his last ever UFC fight, allegedly, that's what he says.
It is. That's one retirement, it is.
You gotta admit, he went out on his sword and shield. That was a hell of an effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Bisping did not look as good as Henderson at the end of that fight. I'd say, of the two of them, Dan looked better.
Okay, the only thing that I would say about this fight, if you're scoring it by pride rules, maybe a different fight.
Yeah.
But it's not pride, it's UFC.
No, indeed it's not. And speaking of, it's not pride, it's UFC. Gegard Mousasi beating Vitor Belfort because it's not pride.
No. TKO, second round, 243. I don't think this is the end for Belfort, but I know he's not getting any younger, but...
He's not getting any younger, and he's not looking any better. The more these fights go by, the worse he looks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jimmy Manuwa beating OSP in a surprise, to my opinion anyways, 238 of the second round.
Yeah, I believe Manuwa was the slight favorite going in, but you and I both believed OSP had a little more to offer, and it didn't turn out that way. Manuwa returned to his old ways.
And OSP, you're not in England anymore. You're okay.
Yeah. Speaking of surprises, Stefan Struve with the Darce choke, but in the first round, he nearly got creamed again. I just don't understand how a guy 6'11" can let so many heavyweights reach his chin.
I'm more surprised at the Darce choke.
Well, that was the old Stefan Struve, was the guy who was a gigantic heavyweight but loved submissions. So that was kind of actually, speaking of the nostalgic old school feel, like UFC 100 was like, holy shit, we're going way back to the days that it looked like Stefan Struve was going to take everybody down and submit them.
Yeah. And Mirsad Beltic beating Russell Doan with a rear naked choke, 422 of the first round.
If you like decisive finishes in all but the main event, and you like a competitive, exciting main event, well, guess what? UFC 204 was everything you could ask for.
Mm-hmm. The 4 prelims on Fox Sports 1, and I believe the Fight Network up here in Canada, all had a decisive winner. Can't really say that much anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might have been wondering in a couple of those fights whether or not you were going to get one because they went to the third round, but in the end, Damian Stasiak, or Stasiak, however you pronounce it, yeah, I'm actually the one who doesn't remember how to pronounce it this time. He got the armbar late in the third round, and Leon Edwards, rear naked choke late in the third round on Albert Tumanov, and I would call that an upset.
I'm disappointed in Brad Pickett getting choked out in less than 2 minutes by Iri Alcantara.
I'm really not surprised. I've been saying for a little while now that I don't think Brad Pickett is the guy he used to be.
I thought this would be a comeback fight for him, though.
I'm not shocked. I'm sorry to say it, I'm not. I think Brad Pickett is, at this point, if he doesn't retire, a gatekeeper.
Yeah. And Mike Perry beating Danny Roberts with a knee and punch combo knockout at 440. This was almost a decision fight here.
Almost, yeah, but it ended in the end of the second round, or end of the third round, I should say, sorry. But yeah.
Unfortunately, I did not see the Leonardo Santos Adriano Martins fight, so I don't know if the right man won there.
Well, It was a split decision, so score it either way if you want to, but it wasn't the best fight of the night, because that one actually went to Bisping and Henderson, while the performance bonuses went to Jimmy Manawa and Yuri Alcantara, each earning $50,000.
Now, before we talk about World Series of Fighting 33, let's talk about the big show in the Philippines this weekend.
Yeah, what show? It got canceled.
Yeah. Had a feeling this might happen when the BJ Penn pulled out and there wasn't enough of a...
What, Marcin Tybura and Derek Lewis wasn't a main event for you?
It is for their families.
Yeah, well, they all get paid their show money, so nobody's out anything except the opportunity to advance in the rankings, I suppose.
I wonder if they even if some people trained in the Philippines for their fight.
Based on a conversation I heard the other day, I think a lot of fighters will not go out to train before their fight because they don't get paid by UFC until fight week. So if their hotel and trans is not covered, why go early? Because that's just money out of your pocket.
All right, so fight got postponed. Hopefully we'll see BJ Penn fight again. How about one last fight? Maybe stateside, who knows?
No? I'm adamant about this. You really just had to be there, because if you were there for that Edgar Penn fight at the Ultimate Fighter finale, you would not ever want to see this again. You would not want to see BJ Penn ever again in a fight ever.
Well, Stevie, I'm going to set this up right in your wheelhouse. Do you ever want to see David Branch fight Vinny Magalhaes in the main event of a card ever again?
Well, if you like one-sided 5-round beatings, sure. I guess you could watch that again.
It was the old stop, he's already dead.
Well, the second round, now you talk about your 10-8 rounds, You try and tell me that wasn't a 10-8, because goddamn it was.
Can I give it a 10-7?
You could. He laid an unmerciful beating on Magalhaes. I really thought the referee was going to step in and save him.
Who was the referee again?
God, I can't even remember now. It's been 4 days. It's been a hell of a week.
So, explain to me how come we didn't have a main event of Gaethje and Dugulabov.
Well, Dugulabov got sick the day of the fight. He dropped in blood pressure, body temperature went up, everything was looking bad. So, for fighter health and safety, they scrubbed the fight and sent him to the hospital, and Gaethje cut a promo on the pay-per-view saying, well, this sucks. I trained to fight. I thought I had an opponent tonight, but book me for December 31st, and I'll be there at Madison Square Garden. You got a date.
Against who?
Well, one person in particular called him out, so if we go over these results, we'll get to that as we progress.
All right. Well, let's see here. We talked about the main event. You know more about this card than I do, Stevie, but I'll see here.
I'll take it top to bottom if you want me to.
Go for it.
We had Joao Zeferino and Jason High at a catch weight of 160 pounds, and Jason High looked pretty good early in the fight. He did what is almost his trademark at this point, is to overwhelm an opponent early and then sink in a guillotine choke and try to get a quick finish. Unfortunately, the Brazilian samurai Zeferino is a little too wily for that. It was tight. He was pretty close to tapping, but he didn't tap. And after that, that was the gas tank for Jason High. He blew it all out there. Zeferino started hammering him. Second round, it got even worse. Third round, he caught him flush with a hand and dropped him. Now, Jason High popped right back up after the stoppage and was complaining it was too soon. But if you watch the replay, when the hand lands on his head, his body goes limp and he falls to the ground out of control. I don't think that's an unjustified stoppage. If you get woken back up by another punch 2 seconds later, maybe you can defend yourself, maybe you can't, but when your whole body goes limp, I don't blame a referee for diving in to save you.
No, absolutely not.
And Zeferino was the man who said, I got one thing to say. Justin Gaethje, December 31st. And he immediately walked out of the cage.
Was he at cage side for that?
Gaethje was there the whole night, so I mean, he got challenged by more than one person, but he was the only one who was specifically point-blankedly addressed in that one just decisive moment, like boom, mic drop off.
Yeah.
Because Foster kind of did something similar. Now, Brian Foster beat Luis Firmino with a triangle armbar 3 minutes into the first round, 3 and change. And this was a weird fight because Firmino immediately started protesting. And everybody was like, what's he mad about? Is he saying he didn't tap? So they showed 2 different camera angles, and he clearly tapped. There was absolutely no doubt about the fact that he was caught in the triangle armbar. So he tapped. What he was complaining about, which they had to really scramble to find a replay that showed this, is he believed that when Foster was setting up the triangle and swept his leg around his head, he kicked him in the head from a down position. It's a very iffy complaint. I mean,
yeah,
you can kind of see the leg sweeping behind his head, kind of grazing his head, but it's not like he knocked him out or knocked him for a loop while he was doing it.
Well, as far as weak excuses go, it's up there. It's not it's not the worst I've heard, but it's absolutely up there.
Well, Firmino lost a 5 or 6 fight winning streak, so he was pretty sore about it and believed it should not have gone down that way because he took an illegal blow, but I don't think he's got much of a protest here. I think anybody who looks at that replay might go, you kind of were kicked by him when you were on the ground, but you really weren't damaged by it. He was setting up the triangle that submitted you. I don't think you can call that an illegal blow.
All right, let's move on to Nurmagomedov against Howard.
Well, I had one more thing to say.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Foster, he rambled a bit. He didn't quite get to the point as effectively as Zeffirino did, but he was like, you know, I really didn't do well in my first performance against him. I want my shot back. I want my shot back. And if you read between the lines, he was talking about Justin Gaethje.
All right, so now we go on to Nurmagomedov against Howard, an unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28.
I guess it was a good performance for Nurmagomedov, but not a super exciting fight. I just question whether John Howard is still competitive at this point, post UFC. He seems like he'll go in there, he'll strike a stance, he'll keep his shoulder up high and duck his chin and do all the things technically right that you're supposed to do, but he just doesn't seem to have that pop or fire in him anymore. He doesn't fight like a hungry fighter now.
Sad to say.
Yeah. Well, Sean Jordan, on the other hand, was hungry. And I don't just mean because he's a big heavyweight. I mean, he went out there with bad intentions, and Ashley Gooch had one good moment in the fight and got off a flurry, and then Jordan just rocked his socks off, and then instead of trying to finish it standing, he actually hit a single leg and went to the ground with him.
I was like, Jordan's going for a take. Wait, seriously going for a take?
Honestly, I was impressed by that. I was like, look at this big mofo taking this guy down with a single leg. It's like the overweight Brock Lesnar. Let's watch him do his shit.
The overweight classic. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, but, I mean, give him credit. If he wanted to find that choke, he was looking for it hard, but Gooch wasn't giving him that opening, so he was like, fuck it, I'll just TKO him. I got him in a vulnerable position. I'll just pound him out.
And Timur Vele against Chris Gutierrez.
This was a strange one, and not because of the result, because I expected Valiev to win the rematch. What was strange was the commentary never even acknowledged it was a rematch. They pretended the first fight never even happened. They never once addressed the fact that in a previous encounter, Gutierrez had beat him.
Not once?
Not once. And this fight was bonused onto the show because the Gaethje fight got scrapped. So It's not like they didn't have time to talk about it. They padded this show a lot. They could have found time to talk about it.
Now, is there anything on the prelims you want to talk about, or you want to go straight to the news?
I'll talk about Thug Nasty.
Okay, go for it.
Bryce Mitchell defeating Brandon Phillips with an arm triangle choke, 3 minutes, 14 seconds of the second round. Phillips, he had his moments, but he was in trouble the moment Mitchell took him down, because this kid, he lives up to the Thug Nasty name when it comes to his jiu-jitsu. And I'm not saying he's all the way up there that we can call him a Damian Maia or a Marcin Held, but he's definitely not the kind of guy at featherweight that you want to go to the ground with and hang around for too long, because he is slick when it comes to transitions and looking for submissions. This kid is a prodigy in the making. I think he could be something special.
Give him a couple more fights. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not sold on the prodigy tag yet, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm saying potentially a prodigy. He's looked good in every fight I've seen him in so far, but he hasn't really been tested to the degree that I would like yet.
Fair enough. Well, let's go to the news. And Leonardo Santos wants to fight Michael Chiesa.
Okay, so...
A very intriguing fight there. It's two different styles that could either A, make for a great fight, or B, could just be boring as hell.
I would be willing to bet that with Chiesa, he would want to stand and bang and make it exciting.
Hope so. Now, I'm going to leave the floor open to you on this one, because you probably know it a lot more than I do. Conor McGregor is fine.
Yeah, he got slapped with $150,000 for the little water bottle chucking incident that happened at the UFC 202 pre-fight press conference.
$150,000. That is not a slap on the wrist.
It actually could be called a slap on the wrist, considering that did 1.6 million buys on pay-per-view. He got a cut of every pay-per-view buy, and he got several $1 million for the fight itself. His disclosed payout without a win bonus was $3 million, and he gets a cut. So $150,000 is, in that case, virtually a slap on the wrist, because he made anywhere from $5 million on up.
Brock Lesnar is getting ready for his case in front of the Nevada State Athletic Commission and blaming the supplement, which for some has worked, some hasn't. And John Jones got in a little bit of trouble because there's a delay for some, it's just John Jones playing the game right now, stretching this as long as he can.
Of course, trying to mount some kind of defense, but I don't really know what you do in this case if you're John Jones for failing that test. I think you're pretty much screwed and just accept it.
Now, Bellator, if you thought December was...
Oh, God.
There's a drop.
December 2nd, December 3rd, and December 10th. I am so going to need a Christmas vacation.
Bellator 166 and 167 on back-to-back nights. And we're not talking small cards, folks.
No, they booked a really good fight for the December 2nd show.
And the 3rd.
Well, I like the one for the December 2nd show the most, because that's Joe Warren getting a rematch with Eduardo Dantas, and the last time the two of them met, he took the bantamweight title from him, so it's his second chance to do it again, and for Dantas, it's a chance to prove that he's better than he was on that night. But Joe Warren, when he got in there and got into range, he took him down over and over again, so Dantas is going to have to find a way to stuff that if he wants to prove something in the rematch.
And Bellator 167 has Curran and Teixeira.
Yeah. John Teixeira is the guy
That's
in the
not
featherweight.
a bad fight either.
No, he's the guy in the featherweight division you probably don't want to face, because he's got that, I guess I would call it the Jake Shields thing, where he makes good fighters look bad, because he can win split decisions, he can outpoint you. He's got 3 in a row where he's just frustrated the hell out of people.
Now, Stevie, I know you're a big fan of football.
Mm-hmm.
So am I. We've watched football many, many years. One of us in this 2-person tag team here has done tailgating. I'm not going to say which one, but he's an American.
That's right.
Greg Hardy who is in a little bit of trouble in football, being suspended for various reasons, is deciding to pursue a career in mixed martial arts.
Well, then he needs to keep it on the straight and narrow if he wants to get into MMA, or else he's going to have more trouble.
Because if he thought, NFL had bad drug policies,
Yeah, wait till you try USADA testing. Good luck with that.
All right. In some sad news, the memorial service for Josh Simon is this Friday in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah, that's just a bummer. There's not really anything else I can say about that other than my condolences to his family and friends. And a lot of our colleagues worked closely with the man. I know that Heidi Fang was very sad. I know Dwayne Finley was very sad. He had a lot of friends in high places with sports writers and MMA journalists and just fans of the sport. He was very well liked.
Smiling Sam Alvey fighting Alex Nicholson now in Mexico at UFC Fight Night 98.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to seeing if he's still smiling after that one.
Okay, what else is here? Aljamain Sterling against Rafael Assunção is up for the Albany card, UFC Fight Night 102.
Ooh, I like that fight. That is a good fight.
And somebody just sent me something. Hold on. I just got breaking news from ESPN. Combate Americas.
Yes. Alberto Del Rio is El Presidente.
And Alberto El Presidente Rodriguez.
He is the new president of Combate Americas, so congrats to him.
And for those who don't know, he does have a mixed martial arts background.
That's right. He's had several fights and won a few of them. In fact, I think he got a few offers in his first WWE departure to go back to MMA, but he declined them. So he still wants to be around the sport, but just not fighting in the sport.
And we're talking some big names he's fought. He actually got in the ring against Crow Cop.
That's right. But
he wore a mask. He always wore a mask.
Yeah, but everybody knew it was Dos Caras Jr. I mean, it's not like he was fooling anybody or anything.
But Del Rio going into MMA as a president of a promotion? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's going to do it for the show this week. Stevie, as I always ask you at this time of the show, what's on tap for Thursday night AMP?
We've got to review No Mercy and talk about the King of Pro Wrestling show from New Japan. So we'll cover everything that happened last weekend.
All right, and just I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. This past week, I should say, a friend of mine, if you remember my appearances when I was in Renfrew, doing my internship there, one of my mentors I worked with there, suddenly passed away this past week. So his funeral was this week. So thoughts and prayers to him and his family. We're going to miss you, Pete. Really sad story, but he was really one of those guys that really pushed me to really stick with the podcast and MMA reporting in general. So, sad to see him go, but he'll never be forgotten.
Yeah, my condolences to you and to his family as well. But hopefully, from the tragedy can come something beautiful and it'll inspire other people to continue on just like you have.
Absolutely. And, and for the Canadian listeners out there, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Turkey Day was good, and we do ours a little bit early here in Canada, if you don't know that, but it's better.
Sure.
All right, well, for Stevie J, I'm Peter H., the Hardcore Canadian. Thanks for listening, and as I always say, never leave it to the judges. Good night, everybody.
See ya.